Hello everyone, so I'm back with another update on my Saga Age of Magic challenge, and I've got there. So I have finished the challenge. I'll show you the figures that complete the points target in a moment, but I've also been painting some figures that I probably won't use. This is one of them. I was sort of painting up individual figures to see if I could compose a unit of warriors, but it's really not going to work. As I said on a previous video, that all the figures are so kind of individual looking that they don't look right together. They don't form a kind of cohesive unit, and they're often armed. Some are armed with missile weapons and some of them with melee weapons, so it's a bit difficult to do it. And this is one figure in particular. It's described as a female warrior. The other reason I'm not going to use this figure is I'm not particularly keen on it. I did find it really hard to interpret all the various folds in the clothing and so on, and to kind of work out what belonged to what and what was going where. So I wasn't particularly happy with it, and it's a nice enough figure, but she's not going to find my way into the faction. Okay, on to the next one. Okay, this is another figure that I don't intend to use, but I have painted up. I'm a bit happier with this one. He is, if you remember, there were three figures described as marauders. One of them is absolutely colossal, and I intend to use him as my paladin. And I showed you the second of them, said I probably wasn't going to use him, and this is the third. And whilst he is, you know, a warrior that I could put into a unit of warriors, as I say, I simply haven't got enough. I've got 8 figures that you know, would make up a sort of, you know, decent unit of warriors. So I'm gonna put him to one side as well. But yeah, I was quite happy with the way he turned out. Right, now next up we have a unit of creatures. These are probably going to replace the unit of scorpions that I showed you in the last video. I'm in two minds about that for a reason I'll discuss when I show you the next figure. But these are more kind of appropriate to a sort of Arabian Nights theme, and I think the scorpions are going to be more suitable for the sort of Egyptian army of the dead that I'm planning on painting up in the future. Yeah, they're 2-part prints, and as you probably noticed, one of them, the heads are a sort of separate print, and on one of them I did a really bad job of joining it to the body, and there's quite a remarkable gap on the one that's currently on the right hand side of the screen. So I'll have to do something about that eventually, sort of put a bit of filling in and paint over, but it is what it is for the time being. Yeah, as I say, you're only allowed in the sort of Great Kingdoms armies, you're only allowed one unit of creatures, so I can't use both these and the scorpions, and they probably will replace the scorpions. But the figure that I'm going to show you in a moment that I have painted up to be my monster doesn't really fit into any of the 3 categories of monster that you're allowed to use, and so I might have to take one of these figures and use it as the monster, because there is a sort of I think they're called titans, but some titans can be slithering creatures, which obviously these would be. On to the final figure I've got to show you. Okay, now this is going to be my monster, or the idea is that he will be my monster. He's he's in the folders of the files of Empire of Scorching Sands. He's under the monsters category, and he's an Afriti. So the Afriti were a sort of an alternative name almost in the Arabian Nights for genies, but they have a more kind of demonic appearance, and less sort of human appearance. So he was going to be my monster, but there are 3 categories of monsters in the rules, and he doesn't really fit into any of them. The most suitable would be a scourge, but the scourges are all flying creatures. So, as I say, I'm not quite sure what to do with him. But he's the extra point that I needed to reach 8 points. So I've now, with all my surplus to requirement figures, I'm well over 8 points. So for the time being, I'm going to call that challenge accomplished before the 1st of August. And as a project, I've got a long way to go. I want to paint up an opposing faction, using all the sort of figures from the sort of Egyptian themed part of the folders, and I want to print up and paint up a lot of scenery and buildings. That's going to take me quite a while to do. It'll certainly be well after the 1st of August. So I'm going to put this project to the side for the time being and get on with a few of my other outstanding projects that have been waiting patiently for me to get back to them. So what I'll do now is just put all the figures that I got painted up and printed out together, show you an overview of the faction as a whole. Right then, so I've put everything out on the table with a little bit of scenery in the background, give it a little bit of flavour. Up this end of the table, all these figures are probably surplus to requirements. So you've got the 2 of the 3 marauders that I'm not going to use, an old man, a Hearthguard figure, because I printed out, I accomplished 9 prints of Hearthguard, so I only need 8. The Hawk Warrior, the Vizier. A bit of a shame about the Vizier, because I really like that figure, but I had to sacrifice him in order to, because he's a magician, in order to have a conclave. The female warrior that I've just shown you, and then in the back I've got the animated flying carpet that doesn't fit into the rules, and 2 scorpions who may get used, but probably not. I've got a little bit of flexibility anyway. Right, just move the camera up the table a little bit. Then, starting at this end of the line of the actual faction, in the background there, I've got the 4 genies. So you've got fire, wind, water, and earth genies. So they are going to form a conclave, which prevents me from putting a magician into the faction, but they are a significant proportion of the warband now. They are worth 3 points. Then I've got 12 Hearthguard figures, so they are this line. They go off the camera a little bit, so I'll move the camera up in a moment. But so 12 Hearthguard figures is another 3 points, so that is 6 points. And here you can see my warlord, who is free. He is a sultan, Next to him is the other marauder that I'm going to use as the paladin. So in order to acquire a paladin, I need to sacrifice 2 of the 12 Hearthguard. And then behind them you can see the figure that I showed you a moment ago, the Afriti, who's going to be a monster. So here's another point. So that takes me up to 7 points. And then here you've got another, these are another 4 of the 12 Hearthguard. These 4 are armed with bows. The Afriti in the background there again. 2 desert vipers, monster vipers. So that is another point. So that takes me up to the 8 points. And then I've got a lieutenant there who I need to sacrifice another 2 of the 12 Hearthguard in order to put on the table. So in other words, I'm going to have, of those 12 Hearthguard I've shown you, 4 of them are going to have to disappear. And the lieutenant can either be flying or on foot, so I've got both. If he's flying, he's going to be on a flying carpet. If he's on foot, he's obviously not. And that is the entirety of my warband. Now, it has occurred to me, as I was laying all these out, that I have got a number of options and a bit of flexibility. So as I mentioned before, I might, instead of using the Afriti as a monster, use one of these. I use the one that the head is better attached to the body. Use one of the desert vipers as the monster, and then I could even, because the warlord isn't particularly warlike, I was thinking I might be able to use him as the warlord. But anyway, I've got more than enough for an 8-point faction. And yeah, really enjoyed painting these up. It's been a kind of interesting project for me anyway, just to see what I can do with my 3D printer, as well as joining in the kind of community build. And I've got a long way to go before I actually finish this project now, but time is not, I'm not going to have time as it's pressing on me. I'm going to take my time with it and not try to accomplish anything more by the 1st of August. And as I say, lots of buildings that I want to print up, some really interesting terrain that I can print on my 3D printer now that will fit in perfectly with this, and the opposing faction, which is going to be a sort of an army of the dead. And that's it. That's my challenge completed. Thanks very much for watching, everyone, and thanks very much to Little Legions and Leon for putting it on, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.
you.